Good afternoon. This is Ivan O'Mara. Hope you guys enjoyed my Sky Source video. Hi, your Sky Source are sick, I know. I haven't talked more Sky Source. I could, but I've talked about Sky Source for years. I made hundreds of videos about it. It's getting a bit annoying. That's why I want to change it up, obviously. But obviously, right? I mean, that's pretty harsh talking to the CFL like that. I don't mean to be an asshole, but like, one day I'm like, yeah, man, enough's enough. The CFL needs to be exposed, and I expose the CFL for the world to see, obviously. As this is not a recent thing, guys. The American bias in the CFL has been going on for decades, guys. 50, 60 years since the league started. Obviously, the American bias has been ongoing since the league started. Yeah. The CFL is obviously trying to be the NFL of Canada. That's why they do that. They're blinded by the American talent. Yeah, we want to be like the NFL. Let's bring the undrafted NFL guys up here and they get to be stars. We put on entertaining football for for the Canadian people. And they're seeing minimal growth, so obviously something's not working, obviously. Yeah. So the CFL, the CFL, even though it's a Canadian football league, they're trying to be the NFL of Canada. So I believe they're trying to Americanize the Canadian football. Yeah, it's the Canadian football league, but like most of the stars are all these American players. They also change the rules to fit more like the NFL. They're trying to be the NFL of Canada. Like, duh. That's why they limit opportunities for the best Canadian players in Canada to play, and they give the American players the opportunity to shine up here. Guys who who never want to be here, they're only here by default. Like CFL, they're only here by default. Had they went in the NFL, you never would have seen any of these guys, man. Yeah. All the CFL legends like Milt Siegel, Anthony Gavillo, had they got an NFL opportunity, they never would have played here at CFL. They were only here by default. That's why they're here. There you go. And you want to grow the league with those guys instead of the homegrown, grassroots Canadian talent. Best players in Canada who actually want to play football here. They don't care about the NFL. You want to grow the league with those guys. And you're having minimal growth, so obviously something's not working. I believe the key to fixing it is marketing the Canadian homegrown talent, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong, right? It's all about marketing. Marketing is the key, obviously. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. All right, you think there's some Canadians who are on your side? Of course, man. There's obviously some Canadian football fans who, oh, I get it, man. I'm also sick of the bias. Even though I love the Canadian football league, I love the star players. The American bias is kind of sickening, man. I'm getting sick of it. Yeah, I know. I know how you feel, man. It's so unfair. It's like a betrayal to your own country. The CFL, they're trying to Americanize the Canadian Football League, obviously. Yeah, it's the Canadian Football League, but the majority of the star players are all these American guys. So you kind of, you know what I'm saying? And who the people in Canada know nothing about, and you market them, and you're expecting substantial growth, and you're seeing minimal growth. So obviously something's not working. Don't hate him, yeah. Obviously something is not working. I'm sorry. I've just been taking a shower. Yeah. Talk maybe an hour and 10 minutes. I'm done, guys. I'm gonna take a shower. I'll enjoy it with you guys, and I'm gonna go swimming around maybe I don't know 8 o'clock. I'll go swimming. I'll watch maybe some Rod. When I come back home, I'll watch Rod or something like that. I don't know. God, not sad. I know, man. It's cold, man. It's sad. It's very sad. At the same time, the CFL wants to put on quality football, and you need to give the American players opportunity to play football in Canada. I get that, but the NFL, CFL limits us Canadian players to play down there. There's only maybe a few. There's only a few Canadian players playing in the NFL right now, and there's not one Canadian Hall of Famer in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There you go. That's your answer. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, once I saw the new CFL rule change, how they're trying to Americanize the Canadian football. I'm like, yeah, I was right, man. The CFL, yeah, they're trying to be the NFL of Canada. That's why they bring all the American guys and how to be the stars up here, and they're also changing the rules to fit more like the American football game, like the NFL. And that's how you know the CFL is obviously trying to be the NFL of Canada, but it's not working. So obviously something's not right. Oh, hey, yeah. Yeah. I know, it's almost like for decades, the CFL has been bringing all these American guys. Hopefully, they grow the league, and like the answer's right in front of your face. No, no, no. It's not the American guys; it's the Canadian guys. You should be marketing to the Canadian people, but it's all these American guys who get to shine up here. Barely any Canadian guys get to shine up here. Some Sarah. You all the Canadian football players in CFL, yeah, Ivan, man, it'd be nice for us to be the stars up here. Not gonna happen, guys. CFL has a bias towards American talent. Never gonna happen, obviously. That's too bad, huh? That's sad. Yeah. What do you think is the key for building buzz for the Canadian product? The quarterbacks. It's all about the quarterbacks. If you market them as the CIS franchise quarterbacks for all the pro CFL teams, and you market at the universities, now that's how you build more buzz. A lot of people in university, oh my god, I know this QB. He played here. He played here when he got drafted. He's a franchise quarterback. I might tune into the game, and that's how you build the brand in 10 years. Not an overnight success. That's how you build it in 10 years. Yeah, but even the quality will dip, man. Yeah, it'll dip by a little bit. It's still entertaining football. I've seen many CIS games. They're very, very entertaining games, and those are not even the best players in Canada. Yeah. And so my advice would be to put them through better, more intense training like the American guys. Have them train the way the American players train in the NCAA. Have the coaches coach the crap out of the quarterbacks, the linebackers, and running backs, and you'll get amazing football. It's amazing football, but it's not like the NFL. Yeah, that's the problem. You're blinded by the American talent level. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada. You have your envy, obviously. Yeah, like even though the best Canadian players in Canada are amazing football players, they're not the best American players in the NFL. Yes, they're not, but stop being blind by the American talent CFL. Forget about the Americans who love football. It's about the Canadians and Canada who love football. The CFL's for the Canadians, the NFL's for the Americans. Some Sarah? Yeah. There you go. I'm saying. Let me ask you, all you NFL fans, are there any Canadian Hall of Famers in the NFL? No, there isn't. Yes, that's how you know the NFL has a bias towards Canadian players. And don't forget, the American players have the edge over the Canadian players a bit in talent, obviously. So they don't get to shine up there, and all these American guys get to come here in our country, and they take the spotlight away from the best Canadian players in Canada. How's that fair, CFL? It's not fair. It's not fair. That's why I expose the CFL, because I'm sick of the bias, obviously. Obviously. Or even the CFL doesn't have a bias. Yes, they do. All the star positions are all the American guys. Barely any Canadian star players. The majority of the star players in the Canadian Football League are the O linemen, but the O linemen they're non-skilled positions. So they're not. The O lineman is a non-skilled position, obviously. That's why they're so valuable to the Canadian Football League scouts. Because it's a non-skilled position because they downgrade the Canadian down. Yeah, there's a few receivers here and there in the league that are stars, and yeah, that's it, man. A few free safeties, and that's it. It's all the American guys who are the stars up here in the CFL. That's how it works, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it really matters about nationality. No, man, it does. It does, man. Because you have something called NFL Europe. And all the star players in NFL Europe are all the best European players playing there. There's a Japanese pro league in Japan, and the best Japanese players play there. Yeah, right. And they have a few. Yeah, they like all those pro leagues may have a few people from a different nationality, but maybe 10 people, 8 people, and the rest are all the best players in that country, obviously, or region. In the NFL, all the best athletes in that league are all the American guys. But for some reason, the CFL is not like that. All the best athletes playing in the league are not like the Canadian players. It's all the star players are all these American guys who are not even from Canada. CFL is the only league that does this. I don't know why they just do that. It's very weird. Amen. So you pitches to the CFL committee if you were a CFL commissioner, hypothetically speaking. Yeah, if I was an average person and I got the job as CFL commissioner, I did not have the keys. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I will tell them, okay, you want to fix the financial struggles in your league? They're like, yeah, okay. I'm going to throw something wild out here. You'll think I'm crazy, Ivan. What? I'm like, you have to get rid of the American talent. That's the problem, CFL. They're like, no, Ivan, we can't do that. I'm like, why? Why won't you do Ivan? Because they're talented. They put on a show on television. I know they do CFL, but obviously the fans in Canada are not really resonating with these American guys because they're not from here. They're from a different country. A lot of fans want to see the Canadian athletes play. Yeah, Ivan, we know that, but they're not as talented, Ivan. They're not as talented, but they're still amazing players. I've seen many CIS games. It's still amazing football. These are not even the best players in Canada. Yeah, you put them to better trade, you get a better performance. I know, Ivan, but it's risky. We can't do that. Because you're scared of the dip in quality. Yeah, I was scared of the quality, but CFL, you've been putting on quality football for decades, and your league's been seeing minimal growth. So obviously, quality is not the issue. It has to be something else. Either the fans of Canada don't care about Canadian football that much, obviously, or there is a bigger market for it, but it's not with American product. It's with Canadian product, especially the quarterbacks, the franchise Canadian quarterback. That's what builds buzz. If you market this at universities on CFL on TSN, a lot of fans, oh my God, I know this quarterback. He played at Queens, he played at St. FX, he played at McGill, and now they're franchise quarterbacks. More people will be willing to tune into the games. That's how you build your brand. Oh, Ivan, it's risky. The quality will dip, man. Yeah, you downgrade the Canadian talent. It's embarrassing, man. You don't trust your own nationality to put on good enough quality football for the people of Canada. You trust the American guys who are from a different country, who never even wanted to be here at CFL. This was not the dream. They're only here by default. You want to market those guys to Canadian people, obviously, who they know nothing about and who never want to be here to begin with. They're only here by default, obviously. Yeah, but Ivan, a lot of them stay. Yes, a lot of them end up staying, but quite a few of them leave the NFL. They use your CFL to get an NFL shot, and those are the guys you want to market to the Canadian people and grow your league. Very weird. Instead of the best players in Canada, I mean, doesn't make any sense. Sarah. Yeah. Take a shower after this. So it's a talent, yeah. The CFL relies on the American players' talent to grow the league, obviously. But remember how Herb Brooks said he's like all-star teams fail because they rely solely on the individual's talent. He even told him, yeah, it wasn't because you weren't good enough. Yeah. I was like, man, look, man, I want to change the game of the CFL. Okay, what? I want it to be the best Canadian players playing in Canada, and I want you to get rid of the American talent. That's the problem, CFL. That's why your league is not growing. The fans in Canada are not resonating with these American guys. They don't know anything about these guys. They're arriving, they know their names, they love them. Yes, the fans love them when they're CFL stars and they know their names now. But you know what I'm saying is true, man. They don't resonate with them as much as the Canadian players because they're from a different country. They're American guys. They're American players. Just like the Canadians don't resonate with the American guys either. They don't care about the Canadian guys, the American, because they have their American bias. They don't resonate with them as much as the American players. That's how it works. Sarah. Yeah. That's how it works. Sarah. Yeah. Guys, I know you're scared of the dip in quality with the Canadian athletes. Obviously, because I know why. You're blinded by the American talent. You're trying to be like the NFL. That's why you bring all the American guys out here to play pro football, obviously. But you're relying on the American talent, CFL, to grow your league. But even though they're talented players, they put on a show on television, CFL, they're Americans playing in Canada. So you're marketing these American guys to the Canadian people. They don't know anything about these guys. They don't resonate with them as much as the Canadian players. And you wonder why you're seeing minimal growth. In other words, just because the Americans are more talented than Canadian players, that doesn't mean it's the right way to fix your league. Just like Herb Brooks believed the NHL players, the best way to beat the Soviets wasn't having NHL athletes, it was having the best college players. Obviously, I'm saying Herb Brooks said, I don't want any NHL athletes, I want the best college players in Canada and in America, and they laughed him off as crazy. And he pulled it off, and they won the gold medal round back in 1980, and they beat the Soviets, the best team in the world at the time. Yeah. You have to put them through better conditioning and training, off-season training and better coaching, and you can pull this off, guys. This league can almost double in 10 years, to $400,000 a year revenue, I believe. Why? What if it flops? The only way I see flopping, CFL, is if you don't market them well. If you don't market them well, then it could flop, or it won't make a difference. You're going to get minimal growth. But if you market the heck out of the franchise quarterbacks to the universities, all the students will know these guys are now franchise quarterbacks, and you promote the change. CFL is now Canada, and you do a nationwide press conference with the commissioner talking about the change. Everyone in Canada knows about the change, and you put billboards in front of each stadium before each game of a picture of a quarterback, a Canadian quarterback win his homegrown town, the best players in Canada compete for the Grey Cup. That builds more buzz. That's how you grow it. It might flop. I don't think it'll flop. I think it will either the league will have minimal growth, or it can be huge in 10 years. It won't be an overnight success, but in 10 years you can grow this thing. Obviously, that's my goal. That's what I want. That's what I want to pursue this job. If I was a CFL commissioner, hypothetically speaking, right? Yeah, but because the CFL's buying my American talent, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, so I know you're blinded by you're relying on the American talent. Yeah, we're relying on American talent, Ivan, to grow our league. Okay, so what's your business strategy of marketing the American players playing up here in the CFL to get substantial growth? What's your business plan? So what's your business plan, CFL? I'm asking you a question. Ivan, we don't know. We don't have an answer. We tried everything we could. Yeah, you tried everything you could. Something's not working. You gotta make some changes now. something is not right. Something is not working. Yeah, but we do market Canadian athletes. Yes, you do, but very few. The spotlight is still taken away from the Canadian athletes. It's mainly all the American guys, obviously. And it's all about the quarterbacks, man. The quarterbacks is what really builds buzz. Even though Nathan Rourke, they talk about him in the CFL, he's only one Canadian quarterback, and all these other guys are all these Americans. Obviously. Obviously, right? So it doesn't really, it builds a little bit of buzz, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But if you have 9 Canadian franchise quarterbacks, and all the students at university knows the guys who got drafted who play at that university are now star quarterbacks, franchise quarterbacks in the CFL, that can build buzz, and that's how you grow your league. But I have inequality with it, man. We can't take that risk. Yeah, I know. That's why it's never gonna happen. Never gonna happen, obviously. But Nathan Rourke is the hope, man. He's the hope for the Canadian quarterbacks. Nathan Rourke, right? I mean, that's sad. I know. Nathan Rourke is the hope for all the Canadian quarterbacks playing in the CIS and NCAA. He's the hope, obviously. He really is. He's the beacon of hope, obviously, for the Canadian quarterbacks. Nathan Rourke. Yeah. Because the one position that will build buzz is the quarterbacks. You haven't seen Valentino somehow talking about the 9-star franchise Canadian quarterbacks. Now that more people in Canada will be interested and they'll tune in, and you can grow the league substantially in 10 years. It won't be an overnight success, but you can grow it in 10 years. 10, 12 years, you can grow it. 10, 11 years, you can grow it to a bigger business, obviously, for the CFL. So, Sarah? I don't know. The American NCAA quarterbacks who come here, are they much better than Canadian quarterbacks? They're a little bit more talented, but there's not that much of a difference, man. Like, I'm being honest, there's not that much of a difference, man. I don't see a difference with Nathan Rourke and all these American quarterbacks. Nathan Rourke is just as good as the American quarterbacks, if not better. He's better than some of them, obviously. And Trey Ford is just as good as all the American quarterbacks, too. He's fucking amazing, that guy. He wasn't able to win games for Edmonton, but he's an amazing quarterback, Trey Ford. I saw his highlight on YouTube. He's a fucking amazing. He's very athletic, too. He's kind of like a Brandon Bridge. He's an amazing quarterback, Trey Ford. He wasn't able to win games for his team, but Trey Ford is just as good as all these American quarterbacks, too, in the CFL. He's amazing. You know what I'm saying? He's an amazing quarterback. You just have to... They just have to have better training, better coaching, and they'll be amazing quarterbacks. Yes, the American quarterbacks have a bit of the edge in talent, but there's not that much of a difference, guys. Like, the Canadian quarterbacks are still amazing quarterbacks. Yeah, they are, but they're not the American guys. Yeah, because you're trying to be the NFL Canada CFL. You're blinded by the American talent. Yeah, I will blind by the American talent. Yeah, you're blinded by the American talent. You rely on the American talent to grow your league, even though they're unknowns to the Canadian people CFL. Obviously. Yeah, as I believe that the CFL is not seeing much growth because they rely heavily on the American football players' talent to grow the league to the Canadian people. But just because they're more talented, well, doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way to grow your league. There's context. Yes, they're talented, but they're American. They're from a different country. You market those guys to Canadian people. The Canadian people don't really care that much because they don't resonate that well with the American guys compared to the Canadian guys. Yeah, we know that. Yeah, they obviously don't resonate with American players compared to the Canadian guys. Now, if all of Canada knows it's now homegrown talent, the best players in Canada playing, the universities is a very good market. All the students in university, oh my God, this guy who was a quarterback for this university got drafted. Now he's a franchise player for the CFL. I might tune into the games, and more people tune into the games. That's how you build the league in like 10 years, and you have a more successful league in 10 years. I'm your genius, I know. Never gonna happen, no. Never gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, it's never gonna happen. That's why Nathan Rourke is the hope. Nathan Rourke really is the hope man for the CFL. He really is. He's the hope man. I hope he takes his team to the Grey Cup. That'll be sick. If Nathan Rourke can take the Beast Lions to the Grey Cup, he just made history, man. A Canadian quarterback taking his team to the Grey Cup, that's like history. Well, you have Russ Jackson, but I mean, Russ Jackson played in the 60s, right, in the CFL. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. So on the universities is a good market to market the Canadian players because the players who got drafted or who are unsigned undrafted free agents, if they market those players to the Canadian universities, the students will know, oh my God, all these guys who got drafted who we know who play university football, some of the students who know those guys, oh my God, they're now franchise players. Okay, I'm more interested now. I'm going to tune into the games, and more people will tune into the games. That's how you grow the brand, obviously. Yeah. There's a good, 24 CIS universities competing for the Vanier Cup in Canada for the 4 divisions. You're looking at about 1 million plus students, obviously. So that's a good market to tap into. If a good 250,000, 300,000 of those students watch the games, you just increase your TV ratings from 500,000 to 800,000 people watching. And if you can get another 200,000 people in Canada interested, that's really 1 million people tuning in. You just got to really market it well, and you can grow the league in 10 years. But CFL will never. If I pitch this to the CFL, like what Herberg said, like better training, change the game, have better offensive, defensive systems for their Canadian players to make the game more entertaining, better coaching, more intense training. Even this could work, but it's risky. We don't trust. Like, yeah, you don't trust your own nationality to put on good enough quality football for your own country. Like, that's ridiculous. That's sad. How you guys don't trust the Canadian players to put on good enough quality football for the people in Canada, man. I watched the CIS championship game. McMaster was Laval, and that was one of the most entertaining games I've ever seen in my life. And those are not even the best players in Canada. Dwayne Ford was on the edge of his seat. He's like, best game ever. Kyle Coleman was putting on a show in that game. Ivan, it's amazing quality football, but it's not like the American guys, Ivan. Yeah, that's the problem. You're blinded by the American talent, CFL. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada. That's why you're even Americanizing the game. Or by you're moving the goalposts from the front of the end zones to the back of the end zones. That's what the NFL does. You're shortening the field from 110 to 100 yards, obviously. And you're also taking away the 1-point rouge for the missed field goal. Like, that's what makes the Canadian game unique, and you're taking that away you're taking that away. You're trying to Americanize the CFL. Yeah, we are. Even though it's a CFL, the Canadian Football League, we want to Americanize it because we want to be like the NFL of Canada, Ivan. And you wonder why your league's not growing, CFL. Like, duh, here they go. The way I look at it, it's common sense, but if your league is called the Canadian Football League and it's a Canadian football brand, it's common sense. You have the star players be the Canadian guys, not the American guys from a different country who no one knows anything about. I think that's business 101 common sense. See what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, I don't know, it's like you have a Team Canada football team. Yeah, it's Team Canada and they're representing Canada, but most of those players are American players. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's Team Canada, but the players playing for Team Canada are not really Canadians, they're American players. So the fans who watch the game will root for the Team Canada, but they can't really resonate with them. They don't even take the team seriously because they're all these American players. You kind of have a similar example with the CFL. Even though the CFL is a Canadian Football League, the CFL is obviously Americanizing the Canadian Football League. And all the star players are all these American guys, and there's barely any Canadian stars in the league. It's all filled with all these American guys. I believe that's the problem. Go ahead, saying that's the problem, man. I believe. But I can also be wrong. Maybe it does. The CFL would ask me, the committee would ask me, Ivan, why do you think the league is not growing? Okay, I have 2 answers. Either the fans in Canada just don't care that much about Canadian football. That's regardless of what you do. That's the first answer, which is possible. Or there is a bigger market for your Canadian Football League CFL, but it's not with your American star players. It's with the Canadian star players. You need to really focus on the grassroots and homegrown talent, Canadian football players. Have the best players in Canada compete for the Grey Cup. You market them well, especially the quarterbacks. That's how you grow the league. But they're not as talented as the American guys. Yeah, that's the problem, man. Like, just because they're not as talented doesn't necessarily mean you what. Like, sometimes just because someone's more talented doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way of growing your business. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The Canadian CFL have higher market value than the American guys because they're Canadian, they're homegrown talent. The fans can relate to them more, And a lot of Canadian football fans know about the Canadian players. They know they play at this CIH University. Some people know this guy from high school, and the Canadians can relate to them more because they're from the same country. It's a pride thing. They're Canadians, yeah, we know that. Whereas the Americans, they don't relate to them as much. They can relate to them a little bit. Even I relate to the American players a little bit when they're stars, but I don't relate to them that much because they're Americans from a different country. That's why I don't really care that much about those guys, because they're from a different country. And I also know, every time whenever I watch CFL games, I know, yeah, even though these guys are amazing players, they put on a show, I care a little bit, obviously. I know this was not their dream. They never want to play here. They're only here by default. And they're only here by default. Obviously, all the American guys playing in the CFL are not, this was not their dream, man. They're only here by default because they didn't get an NFL to get. And some of them use the CFL to get an NFL shot. Hence why it's tough for me to resonate with those guys. And you want to market the CFL with those guys instead of the best players in Canada who actually want to play here. This is their dream. Like, you know what I'm saying? The best players in Canada, their dream is playing in the CFL. They don't care about the NFL, the Canadian players. Some of them will take NFL opportunities, but like even then, they don't really care that much about the NFL. Playing the CFL is their dream. We know it, Ivan. Yeah, so why are you Americanizing the CFL? Ivan, they're more talented, man. It's better quality football. Okay, but they've been putting on quality football for years. On television, you're seeing minimal growth. So obviously something is not working. Something's not right. Obviously. Ivan, what do you think is the real key for the Canadian product? It's the quarterbacks. It's all about, if you market the quarterbacks, the Canadian homegrown quarterbacks, that's what's going to grow it. You see what I'm saying? That's the key. But right now, the only quarterback who they're marketing is Nathan Rourke. But all the other guys are all the American guys, obviously. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because the CFL, they're hoping, the CFL is obviously trying to be, yeah, man, it'd be nice for this business to grow to like a $500, $600 million a year business. They're trying, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know, CFL. You're trying your best. Oh, Hamilton, you're trying your best to really market the heck out of Bo Levi Mitchell, Zach Caleros, Bernard Adam Jr., whatever his name is, Art Buckle from Toronto, and then the other quarterbacks, I forget their names. You're trying we're trying, man. Like, yeah, I know. I every time I watch, because the step family, they watch CFL a lot. I see the games and I see like you have this picture of Bo Levi Mitchell and Zach Caleros, CFL on TSN. Watch it. You know what I'm saying? You see the picture of them, and yet the CFL is not seeing much growth because the fans in Canada are clueless. They don't know who the fuck these guys even are, man. They know they're American too. They're not stupid. And so they don't really resonate with them as much. Or they just don't care about Canadian football. That's my other answer. They don't give a shit about Canadian football. Yeah. Yeah. But if the CFL can have substantial growth, which it won't, in 10 years, if the CFL can grow to a $300 million business, that's good. The star players can get paid more money. Because I do believe CFL, you're a bit cheap. It doesn't hurt to pay the star athletes more money because you're being cheap, man. You can afford, we can afford to pay more. We're not going to pay them that, man. It's enough. You know what I'm saying? And I understand the CFL is not the NFL. They don't have the kind of pockets the NFL has. But the star players in the league CFL deserve a little bit of a raise, obviously. Yeah. Ivan, do you see taking away the American talent as risky? No, I don't. Because I've seen CIS games, CIS championship games, and those games are entertaining for me. They're entertaining for me. And those are not even the best players playing in Canada. I've seen many one-on-ones in the combine. It's very competitive competition. The players are amazing. They're amazing players, but they're not the American guys. Yeah, that's the problem. You're blind by the American talent, CFL. You're trying to be you're trying to have quality like the NFL, and hopefully that grows your league in Canada. But that's not the answer. Just because the Americans are more talented than Canadians, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way to grow your league. Because you're relying solely on the talent because they put on a show on television, and that's how you grow a league. But I told you, Zivo, if you want to have the American athlete to come up here, who are amazing players, by the way, put on a show for your television, you know what I'm saying? Your television games, You have no choice but to market those guys to Canadian people, and people don't really care that much. Obviously, something's not working out here. So, yeah. Sarah? That's my answer. You're a genius, I know. Yeah. And the GMs in the CFL don't have to have that worry of losing their star players to the NFL. Because most Canadian players turn down NFL opportunities. I believe John Cornish had NFL opportunities. He turned it down. Enoch Mwamba took his NFL opportunity, but he came back to the CFL. Andy Fantuz took his NFL opportunity. But most Canadian players in Canada who play football don't care about the NFL. Their dream is playing here CFL. They want to play in your CFL. Because you have your bias towards the American talent, barely any of them get to be stars. You have all these bust first round, second, third round picks, and you wonder why some Canadians don't take your league seriously. There we go. Yeah. The only players who have an opportunity to be stars in the CFL who get drafted are the O-linemen. The O-linemen, you have a shot of being a star player, but the O-linemen are non. It's a non-skilled position, right? They're not really. The O-linemen is a non-skilled position. The skill position is all the American guys. That's how it works. A few Canadian guys, and that's how it works right in the CFL. Sorry. There's a lot of great running backs I've seen in the CIS who would have been star running. Anthony Coombs, man, if you took away the American talent, and he would have been a star franchise running back. He waiting for the I know what you're saying, that's true, man. He would have been an amazing running back in the CFL. He would have been like an Andrew Harris. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Brandon Bridge would have been an amazing franchise quarterback had you taken away the American talent. He would have been the Michael Vick of Canada. People would call him the Michael Vick of Canada. Yeah. Trey Ford too, amazing too. He's kind of like a Brandon Bridge. Like, you know what I'm saying? You talk about those quarterbacks and you market them, you're saying that won't build buzz. I mean, it could be huge, but it's risky. I don't think it's risky, man. I think the Canadians are still good enough to put on good quality football. Yeah, they are, but they're not the American guys. Yeah, stop thinking about the American players, CFL. Just focus on the Canadian players and the people of Canada. Forget about the Americans in the States. They have their NFL. The Canadians have the CFL up here. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to be the NFL and just focus on being the CFL of Canada. Stop trying to be the NFL of Canada. Because you're blinded by the American. Yeah, we're blinded by the American talent. They're so talented. That's why we bring all these guys up here to put on a show for our CFL games. Yeah, but if you do that CFL, you now have to market these guys to the Canadian people for your games or for your CFL games, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. That's my point, right? Amen. Amen. I really believe if you didn't have the keys and you're an average person, you became civil commissioner, you can grow, you can double the CFL's revenue in 10 years. Yes. I believe if I made that change and you put the Canadian athletes through better intense training, better coaching, and you market the heck out of them on TSN, nationwide commercials, the franchise quarterbacks, with his homegrown talent, CFL's not Canada, you know what I'm saying? And you market the universities and you have a nationwide press conference on TSN talking about the change. I'll tell, look, man, whenever the press interviews me, have the TSN air it for live for that way everyone in Canada knows about the change, and that's how you spread the word out. And it could be huge in 10 years, a 400, 450, 500 million year business. If the CFL's pulling in 450, 500 dollars a year in revenue, you can raise the cap now to like 10 million a team, man, around there. And the quarterbacks can now make their 1.6 million. The star receivers make 800,000, 700,000. The defensive players make 500,000. Not NFL money, but they're all now making a lot more money, and you're going to get bigger sponsorship deals from the Canadian companies because it's Canadian homegrown talent, and the athletes can now get bigger endorsement deals because they're Canadian. as the Canadian brands would be more willing to sponsor a star Canadian player than a star American player because that Canadian player is more known to the people of Canada and they can relate to them. They're homegrown talent, they're Canadian. The American guys are not homegrown talent, they're from the States. And don't forget, they never wanted to be here at CFL, they're only here by default. Otherwise, if they were in the NFL, you wouldn't have seen any of these guys play up here. So, Sarah, that's my point right. Yeah, I don't think I'm saying, yeah. Sarah? Yeah. The committee will tell me, Ivan, man, you're a genius, man. You're the one commissioner who can actually, fix our growth struggles, Ivan. This could work. I'm like, yeah, it could work, but Ivan, we can't do that. It's risky, man. The Americans are just more talented. I'm like, okay, so you want to grow the league with the amazing American talent? Yeah. What's your business strategy? Oh, Ivan, we can do nationwide commercials with them. Yeah, it won't make a difference, guys. People in Canada don't know who these guys are, man. They're American from a different country. We could have them. We can market them universities. Yeah, but the people at universities don't know any of these guys, man. They know some of the Canadian guys who play at the university. They don't know anything about these guys. We don't know. We don't know how to grow it with the American talent. Yes. So you gotta make some changes. That's my answer, right? Don't hate him, saying yeah. Sarah? Sarah? Yeah, man. You're geez, I know. Ivan, we can put a big billboard in front of the stadium of the star American players. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it won't make a difference, guys. The fans in Canada don't know who the fuck these guys are, man. They can't present them. They're American, man. That's the problem. They may be talented, but they're not as valuable up here at CFL. They're American players. They're very valuable in terms of talent, but for market value, they're not that valuable up here at CFL. They're American. They're from a different country. You got what Sarah? Yeah. The CFL, obviously, they rely blindly on Americans' talent. Yeah, we're relying on the Americans' talent, the American players' talent to play up here to grow this league. But I mean, sometimes just because the player is better in terms of talent doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to grow your league. There's context. You have to look at the context of the situation of growing your business, obviously, right? That's my point. Yeah. I do. Tell us everybody, yeah, but yeah, guys, I believe I can double your league's revenue in 10 years. In 10, 11 years, I can double it. They're like, Ivan, you think you can double league revenue in 10 years? Yes. This is me without the keys. I think I can pull this off. Or, yeah, double it or almost double it. Like, at least 400 million in 10 years. This thinking grows at $400, and your league popularity will grow. More people will talk about, more CFL fans will make YouTube videos, and those channels will become a bit more popular. They'll never be the NHL, not even close, or the NFL, but it'll grow in popularity. That's how you grow in popularity, by marketing the Canadian product, mainly the quarterbacks. That's the key. It's all about the quarterbacks, the franchise quarterbacks. I'm sorry? Yeah. And have a lot of the star Canadian players speak at the universities. That's how you grow it. They speak at universities. You have them speak in Canada, and that's how you grow it. And the fans can relate to those guys more. They're Canadians. Whereas the American guys who speak, they love them and everything. The fans love them. They do. The fans love them. Yeah, they love them. Yeah, I know. The fans love the American players who are CFL stars. They really do, but they don't resonate as much with them compared to the Canadian players because they're American. They're from a different country. You see what I'm saying? That's my point. Oh, Hamilton, yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, man, like, you have to give the American players out there football guys. If they don't make the NFL, they can play at the Arena Football League, the XFL. There's also another league. Jim Pop is at, and there's another league too. It's called. There's like 3-4 minor leagues in the States, guys. If these guys don't get an NFL too, they can play there. The CFL is for the Canadians, man. It's not for the American guys. The Canadian athletes deserve to be the stars of the CFL, not these American guys who can get their NFL shot. Like the CFL is all the Canadian football players have CFL. The American players have the Arena Football League games, and they have the XFL. They have another league too. Jim Pop is working for the ex-GM of Montreal and Toronto. He's working in that league right now. There's like 4 minor leagues in the States that can play there. Some said, oh, I'm saying, yeah. The CFL is all the Canadian football players have. Some Sarah. Yeah. Sarah? Yeah, I hear cheese, I know. Never gonna happen though. Yeah, we're never gonna do that, man. We love the American players. We believe it's because of them this league has grown. I beg to differ, man. I think the reason why your league is struggling to grow, CFL, is because your league, you're Americanizing the Canadian football game, man. Like you may put the CFL title on a Canadian football, but it's not really Canadian football. It's American football because all your star players are just all these American guys, and you're also Americanizing the game too, trying to copy the NFL CFL. As you're shortening the field, the yards of the field to from 110 to 100 like the NFL, and you're also shortening the end zone like the NFL, and you're also bringing the goalposts back like the NFL. Because the difference between the NFL and the CFL, the goalpost in the CFL is in the front, the NFL is in the back. And the NFL, they have smaller end zones. CFL, they have bigger end zones in terms of depth. They also have a longer football field. Now the CFL is trying to Americanize the Canadian Football League. And that's how you know the CFL is obviously trying to be the NFL Canada. That's why they bring all the American guys who didn't get drafted or who got cut by the NFL. They bring those guys up here. And their hope is, okay, even though we know they never want to be here, they come up here, they get to be stars. Hopefully we can keep them and they get to be stars up here. That's their hope. And they end up losing quite a bit of guys to the NFL. And the GMs are pissed off. Yeah, this guy was a CFL star. He used our CFL to get an NFL opportunity. Obviously. And there you go. And you want to what? Grow the league with those guys, CFL, instead of the best players in Canada who actually want to play here? Yeah, very weird. Sorry. Like, guys, this league will never be the NHL, will never be the NFL, but like, this league can grow to a $500 million a year revenue, man. It can be huge in 500 million, they can pull it off in 14 years. 400 million in like 10 years, they can pull it off. And I think that's the CFL's peak. I don't think the CFL can peak any higher than maybe 500, 600 million because football, there's not as big of a demand for football compared to hockey. It'll never be the NHL, not even close, but it could grow to a 500, 600 million business in 15 years. If we just market this and build hype. The universities is a good market, a good place to market. But a lot of the drafters who get drafted universities, the students know that all the school knows these players got drafted, and they know this guy's a franchise running back, especially the quarterback. This guy's a franchise quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders or Red Blacks. More people will be more interested in tuning the games because Canadian homegrown talent, the best players in Canada playing. So I'm sorry. Yeah. All you Canadian football players, man, that's our dream. Yeah, but it's never going to happen, guys. The CFL's blind by the American talent. Never going to happen. They see this risk. Yeah, even though the Canadian athletes are not good enough. No. They're good enough, but they're just not. They're just not the NFL athletes. That's because you're blind by the American talent. Yeah, I'm blind by the American talent. Yeah, the Canadian athletes are good. Are more than good enough to put on good quality football CFL, but it's not satisfying enough to you because you're trying to be more like the NFL. That's the answer. You're blind by the American talent. That's the problem. Yeah, you got a good point there. Yeah, that's the problem, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it's good enough, but it's not like on the NFL's level, Ivan. That's why we bring on the American guys here. Yes, you're blind by the American talent, CFL. Duh. There you go. Yeah. And also do red carpet events for them. Even though the red card events will not be that popular, that's how you build it. Red card events for the awards, while the Canadian star players, and that's how you build buzz. Obviously. So I'm saying? That's how you grow the league. You're a genius, I know. Genius, obviously. You think the committee would be convinced if you pitched to them? Yeah, they would. I did, man. Like, you're the one CFL commissioner that actually really convinced us whereby we can really have substantial growth in 10 years. In my opinion, it's risky, man. No, it's not risky, guys. It's not risky. You're just blinded by the American talent. I'm sorry. The best players in Canada, CFL, are amazing football players. Yeah, they are, Ivan. They are, but they're not as good as the American players. Yeah, because you're blinded by the American talent. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada, CFL. That's the problem, obviously. I'm sorry. Yeah. So they're blinded. Yeah, the CFL, because they're trying to be the NFL of Canada, they want their football games almost on the same quality as the NFL. That's why they bring all the American guys up here, and hopefully their talent, the value of their talent, because they put a show on television. Hopefully we market these guys, and that's how we grow the league. But just because they're more talented CFL than the Canadian guys, they're a bit more talented than the Canadian guys, doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to grow the league in Canada, right? Like, there's context. Like, yeah, they may be talented CFL, but they're American. They're from a different country. The people in Canada don't know who these guys are, man. They come out of nowhere from different countries. They may put on a show, but the fans are obviously not resonating that much with these American guys. Or people in Canada just don't care about Canadian football. That's my other answer. Some Sarah? That's my other answer. Yeah, there you go. Some Sarah? That's my other answer. Yeah. I'm gonna go upstairs and make some coffee. I'll be back. We gotta show my CFL show. Alright, you're a genius, I know. Right, guys, I'm back. Oh, I turned the lights off. Sorry about that. Ivan, do you see it flopping? No. My two answers: either if the CFL were to make this change, either the league would grow substantially in 10 years because they're promoting homegrown talent, or it's what they're in the same similar situation. The league still has minimal growth. It won't make a difference. That's my other answer. Either it doesn't make a difference, or it does make a big difference, whereby they promote all the franchise Canadian quarterbacks, and that's how the league grows. Yeah. Because just because the American players are better doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way to grow the Canadian football brand in Canada. They may be more talented CFL, but they're American players playing in Canada. The fans in Canada don't know anything about these guys, man. They're from a different country. They can't resonate with them the way they resonate with the Canadian players. Am I right for you? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They resonate with them a little bit. Even I resonate with the American players a little bit when they're stars, but I don't really care that much because they're American. They're not Canadian. I don't resonate with them. I have my Canadian bias, right? There we go. I have my Canadian bias. I'm gonna get my coffee, guys, in a good, 5 minutes. I'm gonna get my coffee. I'm sorry. I have my what? I have my Canadian bias. Just like the Americans have their bias towards Canadian, the American players too. It's just the automatic bias that you have. That's my point, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. You think it could flop, Ivan? A small percentage it could flop too, obviously, because the quality went dipped a little bit. But I don't see it flopping. I mean, like the people in Canada love the Canadian football players. They love those guys, man, and they're good enough. Yeah, they're good enough, but it's not like the NFL. Yeah, that's the problem. You're blind by the American talent. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada. There you go. Yeah, because the best Canadian players in Canada, it's not on the same call as the NFL. That's not good enough. We're not satisfied enough with that. That's not good enough for the people of Canada. When it is good enough for the people of Canada, CFL, as what all the university students go watch the CIS games, and those are not even the best players in Canada. They're entertained by those games. I'm not even the rest of Canada's not entertained by the best players in Canada, seeing them play, right? Like when the fans of university see the CIS football games, those are not even the best players playing in that game, and yet they're entertained by the game. As I told you, for each CIS school, only maybe one or two, three guys are eligible for the draft, and all the other players don't make it, or a few of them might be unsigned on draft free agents. But every CIS team is only like maybe two people who are eligible for the draft, man, and that's it. Yeah, like two people, two players, two star players, and the rest don't make it to the CFL. That's how it works, right? Yeah. Like in the NCAA, you have a similar situation. Only a few star players in every team get drafted in the NFL, and a couple of them are unsigned on draft free agents. But I shouldn't say I was just saying, yeah. So, Sarah? You think there's a higher percentage of it flopping or being successful? I believe successful is the higher possibility, but there's a small little percentage it could flop because the quality will dip. I don't think it would flop. I think it would either the CFO will be in the same situation, minimal growth, or it has substantial growth in 10 years. Obviously, yeah. Either it doesn't make a difference at all, or it does make a difference and the league revenue skyrockets to maybe 400, 450 million in 10, 11 years. By end. And okay, Ivan, what's the key position? What's the real key of the Canadian product? It's all about the quarterbacks, man. You got to really market the quarterbacks. And you have to see him on TSN talk about it. Yeah, this quarterback was drafted from Queen's University. He's now the starting quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Can this quarterback take his team to the Grey Cup? And you talk about Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford. You know what I'm saying? And you talk about on TSN. This is nationwide. Everyone's watching this. You have people on the radio talking about it. You know what I'm saying? And you promote it at the universities, and that's how you get the word out. And it could be huge in 10 years. Or it won't make a difference. That's my other answer. I told you there's two reasons why I believe the CFL is struggling. Either the fans in Canada don't care that much about Canadian football, which is a possibility, obviously, or there is a bigger market for it, but it's not with the American product, guys. It's with the Canadian product. That's my answer. You're a genius, I know. Ivan, is it a gut feeling you have? Yeah, something tells me it's the Canadian product. That's the gut. That's how you grow the league, by having 9 franchise Canadian quarterbacks. You market the heck out of them. You got to market them. You do nationwide commercial. You know what I'm saying, with the franchise quarterbacks, and that's how the league grows, and it becomes huge in 10 years, 11 years. It won't be an overnight success, guys. It will take time to grow, but in 10 years you can grow it, obviously, to at least a $400 million a year business. Or it doesn't make a difference. It won't make a difference. That's my other answer. It might not even make a difference. If it doesn't make a difference, then the CFL might as well just keep the American guys. But if it does make a difference, then that was obviously the better choice. You got some Sarah? Obviously. Just like if the majority of the star players in the NFL were Canadian players, the NFL revenue would probably dip. Because the Americans wouldn't realize, yeah, we don't care about these Canadian guys. Why the fuck are all these Canadian guys playing football here? What about the American? Where the fuck are all these American star players? You'd have the same situation there. And the CFL's doing that up here in Canada, whereby all the majority of the star players are all these American guys. And barely any Canadian players get to shine. As I told you, most of these first, second, third round picks, fourth round picks in the CFL are all bust picks. They end up on the practice roster, they get cut, they have limited reps here and there, they bounce around teams, and then you go on the Wikipedia, it says like they got released in 2019, you don't hear about them, they fade away. All the draft picks in the CFL, they kind of like fade away after a couple seasons, they fade away, you don't hear about them. All the attention's on all these American star players. It's sad, man. Alright, that's cold, man. I know it's cold. Son. You know what I'm saying? I was going to go upstairs and get my coffee. Back in a second. I hope you guys enjoy my show. Almost done here. Alright, guys. Oh, I just get my coffee. Yeah. I guarantee all you Americans, I'm saying, who love football, yeah, even though like the American guys are a bit better than your best Canadian players, man. That's pretty cool what the CFL's doing. Like the best Canadian players deserve to play. Yeah, the best Canadian players in Canada deserve to be the stars in the CFL. Not all these American guys who did not get their ever opportunities. It's not fair. Yeah. Ivan, we have to give them an opportunity to play football. Yeah, but you also have to give the Canadian players an opportunity too. CFL. It's not just about the American guys. So you care more about the Americans shining up here when a lot of them are using your CFL to get an opportunity than the best Canadian players who actually want to play for football again. Like they're your own fucking people, man. Your own nationality, man. Like you care more about the American players shining up here than the Canadian players who are drafting the CFL who actually want to what play pro football up here. I'm sorry. Yeah. I guarantee all you American football fans, I don't get it, though, man. Like, why are the Canadian players more valuable than the American players if the American players are better? Well, the American players are more valuable in terms of talent than the Canadian players, obviously. They have higher value in terms of talent. But for market value, they don't have as much market value because they're American. They're not from Canada. No one in Canada knows what these guys are. They don't even know where they even came from, man. Whereas the Canadian players, a lot of the fans know they got drafted. They know they play at the CIS University. They have higher market value. And they can relate to them because they're Canadian. It's an automatic Canadian bias. That's why the Canadian players have a higher market value than the American players. But the American players have more value in terms of talent, but not market value. So I'm sorry, you guys get the picture. I was just saying, yeah. Because the American players put on more of a show than the Canadian players. Like they put on what? They put on more of a show. Right, but the Canadian star athletes also put on a show. Andy Fantuz, Enoch Mwamba, Andrew Harris, John Corns, they're putting on a show on television too. Yeah, even there's not much of a difference, Ivan, but the Americans are more talented, Ivan. They have the edge in talent, Ivan. And hence why the CFL's never going to make that change. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. That's my dream with the CFL. Wow, it'd be nice to see some franchise Canadian quarterbacks compete up here, not just like one quarterback, Nathan Rook. It'd be nice to see Troy Ford actually. The CFL give him an opportunity to actually play, but Canadian quarterbacks have short windows. If they perform bad, they what? They bench them. That's how it works. You know. Because the CFL downgrades the Canadian talent, obviously. Yeah, if this CFL Canadian quarterback does bad after 5 games, bench him, replace him with the American guy. And then if the American guy does bad for 5 games, they get longer windows. Because the CFL doesn't believe the Canadian players are good enough to play football. I saw Trey Ford's highlight, Nathan Rook's highlight. I don't see a difference in quality. They're just as talented as all these American guys. Yeah, they are, Ivan, but like the American players have more the edge, Ivan. Yeah, because you're blind by the American talent, CFL. It's crazy, yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah, man. Ivan, are there a lot of Canadian legends in the CFL? No. Not that many. All the legends are all the American guys, man, who didn't get their opportunity, who came up here, who killed the company. Those are all the legends. I know it's sad, I know. And that's why the people of Canada, they really, really respect Russ Jackson. Because Russ Jackson was a Canadian quarterback who killed it up here back in the 60s. I think he has like 1 Grey Cup, 2 Grey Cups. He's played only for like 8 seasons, so he really had like 25,000, almost 30,000 yards passing, playing for 8 years. And that's why he's a legend, and the fans respect him so much. The Canadian football fans respect him so much, and they have a trophy named after him, the Russ Jackson Award for the CIS awards for the best players who for the awards in the CIS. Yeah, they have a trophy named after them, the Russ Jackson Award. Is there any Anthony Gagliardi award? No, man. They respect Russ Jackson more than Anthony Gagliardi. Why? Because Russ Jackson's Canadian. He's Canadian homegrown talent. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we know that. We know the Canadians respect the Canadian players more because they're Canadian. They can relate to them more. Yes, but like you're not as talented. I mean, yeah, that's the problem. You're blinded by the American talent CFL. You're just blinded by their talent. It's the blindness that the CFL has. Yeah, we want to be the NFL of Canada. I mean, yeah, but I get that you want to have quality football, but I mean, the quality's not the issue. CFL is something else, man. As you've been putting on quality football for decades, and your league's seeing very minimal growth. So obviously, quality's not the issue of your game. CFL is something else. Oh, yeah, there has to be another reason. There they go. Just like me as an actor, I may not be as talented as a lot of these actors, but I have higher market value because what? Because why? You kind of get a similar example there, right? I have much higher market value than all these Hollywood actors. They may be more talented than me in terms of skill, but what? They don't have as high of a market value compared to me, right? That's a similar example there. That's not really a good example because like I'm way bigger than these Hollywood actors. Well, the Canadian athletes are not like way bigger than American guys. No, but they just have a little bit more market value. So Sarah, that's my point. As Canadian football, the Canadian football players are not even close in popularity compared to the NHL Canadian hockey players, right? Not even close. They're not even close to being as popular, right? Because football's not as popular as hockey in Canada. But there's a higher market value for the Canadian football players than the American football players. And CFL knows that, yet they still have the majority of the star players being these American guys. And they market them on TSN. They wonder why they're having low TV ratings. I think I know why. There's your answer. There you go. I'm saying, yeah. Brad Snopley, Brandon Bridge, Trey Ford, Nathan Rook. You know what I'm saying? Those four guys would have been amazing franchise quarterbacks. If the CFL was just named players, they would have been star franchise players, man. They would have been putting on a show. Yeah, they would have. Those quarterbacks would be putting on a show on television, man, for the Canadian people. And then you talk about them and build more buzz. You're telling me that will be more popular than the other American guys? I mean, yeah. That's the point, right? Yeah. Because the American bias, Brad Snopley didn't get his opportunity to shine. He got to shine as a receiver, but he didn't get to shine as a quarterback. All because of the stupid American bias rule, right? Yeah, they were the American bias. Did you see Brad Snopley go up against William Mitchell? Yeah, I did. I remember this is the second year when Brad Snopley had two opportunities to play to be a quarterback. His rookie year, when he got drafted, he went up against the American guy. He lost out to the American guy. And second year, he tried again as a quarterback, and he went up against Bully by Mitchell. And I didn't care about Bully by Mitchell. I was focusing on, I hope Brad Snopley can start as a Canadian quarterback. I didn't care about Bully by Mitchell. I didn't even know who the fuck he even is. Who he even was, right? And I saw both of them play. I didn't see that much of a difference, man, in quality. I did not see. They both scored a touchdown. I didn't see that much of a difference. Yeah, I mean, there's not that much of a difference with the Americans are more talented. I mean, I know you're blind like American talent. Sarah? And then they switched Brad Snopley to receiver because Brad Snopley was very athletic. He was very fast. He was a running, passing QB. They switched him to receiver, and he killed Lee as a receiver. He was putting up 1,000 yards a season, but he retired pretty early because of COVID. Right when COVID hit, yeah. Retired Brad Snopley. Yeah. Amen. All right, he scored. Yeah, Brad Sloppy scored a touchdown. He went up against William Mitchell. I didn't see that much of a difference in quality. But William Mitchell, because he's American, he has better training. He had a little bit more of the edge in town, but I didn't see that much of a difference, man, in quality. I mean, I don't see a difference with Trey Ford and these other American quarterbacks. I don't see a difference with Nathan Rourke and these other American quarterbacks. You just give these Canadian guys the time to shine, and they train well and they have better coaching. You're still looking at amazing football. We know it, it's not like the American guys. Yeah, you're blind by the American talent. CFL, there you go. Some Sarah. Yeah. So you believe that? Yeah, I believe all those four quarterbacks would have been amazing franchise quarterbacks. They would have been putting on a show on television. Brandon Bridge, Brad Snobby, Trey Ford, Nathan Rourke. You have the Canadian QB rivalry, man. Like they'd be putting on a show on television. Yeah, they would, but they're not as talented as the American guys. Ivan. Well, I beg to differ. Nathan Rourke is just as good as all these American quarterbacks, as he's third place in passing yards. Trey Ford, I believe, is just as good as all these American quarterbacks. I saw his highlights, man. The guy's he's amazing, man. Puts on a show. And all you see what guys don't talk about, yeah, he's an amazing quarterback. He wasn't able to win games, but he's fucking talented. He's athletic. He can run and everything. He's an amazing quarterback, Trey Ford. Yeah, man. And Brandon Bridges is an amazing quarterback, too. He also puts on a show, too. And Brad Sinopoli would have been an amazing quarterback in the sequel, too, had you taken away the American talent. He would have been a franchise amazing fucking quarterback, man. And all those guys missed on they lost. The CFL lost all those great players because of the American bias. They all called it quits. Well, Brad Sinopoli quit because of COVID, but Brandon Bridge quit because he knew he wouldn't get another opportunity. When he wasn't able to win games, and they benched him, he knew, yeah, my opportunity of starting again is on high. I'm done. They can't take the American bias. That's why a lot of athletes retire. Brandon Bridge retired from the CFL a couple of years ago. Right, he retired. Obviously, retired from the CFL. I remember my younger brother was going crazy, but I even man, Brandon Bridge is starting. You know what I'm saying? And I can't wait to watch this game. He was excited to watch the game. And that's how you know there's a higher mark on the Canadian players CFL. We know it, Ivan, but like if they're not as talented, like yeah, that's the problem, obviously, right? You're blind by the American talent. There you go. You're blind by the American talent, CFL. I'm sorry. That's why Nathan Rourke is the hope. He's Ivan. He is all you Canadian players. Yeah, Ivan. Nathan Rourke. All you Canadian quarterbacks are in the CIS and that's yeah, Ivan. Nathan Rourke is the hope. Yeah, he's the hope, man. He's the beacon of hope in the CFL. That's how sad it is, man. Nathan Rourke is the hope for the Canadian players. All you ever has, Ivan. That's funny. That's cold, man. I know that's cold. Why does my camera keep going dark? What the fuck's going on here? Yeah. The camera's going dark, guys. Ivan, it's so bad. Yeah, the bias is so bad that like Nathan Rourke is like the hope for for the Canadian quarterbacks in Canada. Yeah, it's up. He's a beacon. He's the beacon of hope, obviously. Trey Ford was also the hope too, but Trey Ford, because even though Trey Ford is an amazing quarterback, I think he's just as good as these American quarterbacks. He wasn't able to win games for his team. But Trey Ford and Nathan Rourke are the hope, but Trey Ford's not playing anymore. They benched him. Whereas Nathan Rourke is actually starting and he's doing good, obviously. Like BC Lions are doing pretty good. So he's the hope. Nathan Rourke is the hope for the Canadian quarterbacks. Because the real key, I believe the real key to fixing the CFL's growth struggle, I may be mistaken, it might not make a difference, you know what I'm saying? But if it is the key to fixing it, hypothetically speaking, it's all about marketing the franchise quarterbacks. That's how you build buzz. It's all about the quarterback. The receivers and running backs and linebackers, that's good. It's all about the quarterback. It's mainly all about the quarterback. That's how you build buzz. And you market them to the universities, CIS universities, and they know, oh my God, this player played at this university. I want to see this quarterback play as a franchise quarterback. And then that's how more people tune in, and that's how you build your CFL brand, CFL. Never gonna happen though. Never gonna happen, obviously. Never going to happen. So Sarah. Never gonna happen, obviously. Never going to happen. So Sarah. Yeah. I mean, has this bias really been going on for decades? Oh yeah. The bias towards the American players is not recent, guys. No, this has been going on for decades, man. 50, 60. Even when Russ Jackson played, the bias was going on, man. It's been going on for decades, man. That's why Russ Jackson's so respected, because he was actually a Canadian quarterback who actually he killed the league up here, and then hence why Russ Jackson's so respected, obviously. I believe he's the only Canadian quarterback who's a legend. That's how sad it is, man. Yeah. Russ Jackson, I believe, is the only Canadian quarterback legend in the CFL. That's why he's so respected. All the other legends are all these American guys, man. We came up from the States. That's how it works right in the CFL, right? Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice for them. It'd be nice for the CFL to talk about like Canadian quarterbacks who actually kill the league up here and won Grey Cups, and they're legends. But all the legends are all these American guys who I don't really care that much about. Like, I care a little bit. I respect them for what they did up here. I really do. I respect them for what they did up here, but I don't care that much because they're American players. I know they never want to be here. They're only here by default. Yeah, they're only here by default. Some say I don't hate them. Say yeah. Some say, huh? Yeah, it'd be nice for them to talk about like CFL legendary quarterbacks. Yeah, the only CFL legendary quarterback I believe is Russ Jackson, if I'm correct. I might be mistaken, but I believe he's the only CFL legend who's a Canadian quarterback. That's why everyone respects him so much. He's from Ottawa too. Russ Jackson's from Ottawa. Yeah, he's from Ottawa. Obviously, he's from Ottawa. Russ Jackson played in the '60s in the CFL, right? Yeah, everyone respects. All the Canadian football fans love Russ Jackson. They respect him. They have a trophy named after him. Yeah, yeah, man. I hope Nathan Rook could become a CFL legend. If Nathan Rook could pull it off and just have amazing seasons every year, play for a good 15 years in the CFL, it'd be nice for Nathan Rook to become a CFL legend and legendary quarterback. That'd be nice, man. Another Canadian legend after Russ Jackson. That'd be nice. That's my goal. I hope he gets to be a legend, Nathan Rook in the CFL. But I told you, because of the American bias, if he has one bad season, they might pull him out and bench him. And once you get pulled out as a Canadian quarterback, it's pretty much over. They're gonna bench you, replace you with an American guy, and you're not gonna get another opportunity ever again, because the CFL they're blind with American talent. They have a bias towards the American players. That's how it works. Obviously. But because Nathan Rook is such a good quarterback, he's actually able to win games for his team. He's Canadian, he's amazing, he's just as good as all these American guys, if not better than some of them. He's winning games for us. We're not going to pull him, obviously. But because he's Canadian, if his team performs bad, because the CFL's biased towards the American talent, they can pull them out. Obviously, that's how it works. Whereas the American players get longer windows, right? That's my point. Yeah. As long as Nathan Rourke performs well every season, he doesn't have to worry. But I told you, Canadian athletes have shorter windows. Yeah, they do. They have shorter windows. And Nathan Rourke was like, yeah, Ivan, you're right, man. The Canadians have shorter windows. Yeah, they do. Perform bad, the coaches pull you out, they bench you, and the American guys have longer windows because they trust them more than the Canadian players, right? That's how it works. Yeah. All right, that's cool, man. I know it's sad, huh? I feel bad for Trey Ford, man. Trey Ford was a franchise quarterback this year. After like 6 games, they pulled him out because he wasn't able to win games for his team, and they benched him, man. Obviously, they benched him. That's sad, man. Fucking sad, I know. It's sad, I'm sorry. Yeah. I hope BC Lions go to the Grey Cup. That'd be nice. Yeah. I'm rooting for the BC Lions to make it to the Grey Cup. Some people, some CFL fans believe the BC Lions might make it to the Grey Cup. The BC Lions are a very good team. Yeah, like last game, the BC Lions wiped the floor with Calgary Stampeders, and Nathan Rourke had an amazing game. I think he had like 300 something yards and like 5 touchdowns, and he outperformed the American quarterback Bernard Adams Jr. whatever his name is for Calgary. He played better than even that guy, and they killed the Calgary. I think it was like 50 something to 20 something. They got destroyed, Calgary. The BC Lions beat them pretty bad, man. Yeah, they beat them pretty bad. He had an amazing performance yesterday and last week, Nathan Rourke. I saw the highlights of the CFL game versus Calgary. Yeah, Nathan Rourke did amazing in that game. Amazing, obviously. So Nathan Rourke is the hope. Yeah, Nathan Rourke is the hope. Hence why all the Canadian football fans are rooting for him to win the Grey Cup, obviously. He's by far the most loved quarterback in the CFL. Why? Because he's Canadian and they can relate to him more. As they made a TSN video, is Nathan Rourke the face of the CFL? Like, you know what I'm saying? So Nathan Rourke only played in the CFL for 3 years, and all these other quarterbacks have played in the CFL for 10 years, and they're already calling him perhaps the face of the league. Why? Because he's Canadian. That's how you know. Yeah, we know the Canadians have a higher market value, Ivan, but we don't care. The Americans are more talented. This is how we grow the league, Ivan. So you're relying blindly on just talent to grow your league, even though the talent that you're marketing to the Canadian people are from a different country. They're American pride. That's how you want to grow the league. CFL, yeah, that's how you grow the league, Ivan. Okay, that's a very good way of growing the league instead of marketing the best Canadian homegrown talent in Canada. But I mean, some Sarah. Yeah, man. All right, who's better, Trey Ford or Nathan Rourke? Nathan Rourke Nathan Rourke is a better pocket passer than Trey Ford, but Trey Ford is obviously he's a bit more athletic. Trey Ford is kind of like a Brandon Bridge. He's a runner, like he's very fast. He's very good at breaking tackles and everything. I saw his highlights. He's very amazing at he has amazing agility. He's good at moving around places and all stuff. But as a pocket passer, Nathan Rourke is the better quarterback, obviously. As Nathan Rourke was actually able to, he's doing good. He's winning games for his team. Trey Ford was not able to win games for his Hamilton team. But just because Trey Ford was not able to win games for his team doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. It could be that the players are just not that good. The receivers are not that good. Like, you know what I'm saying? As Mike Rowley had a horrible season his first year, the Hamilton Nationals had a losing season. And after that, he got better and he took his team to the Grey Cup in 2015, 10 years ago. Guys, remember that? Yeah. Sometimes you just have to give the quarterbacks time to grow, but the CFL coaches are in a dilemma. Yeah, we can give him more time to grow, but if we keep losing games, I could lose my job. So you have to take that into consideration, obviously, right? The CFL coaches, if they don't win games, they get fired. That's how it works. So I'm saying, yeah. So that's why Canadian quarterbacks have shorter windows in the CFL. Because they're scared, yeah, if this Canadian quarterback's not performing well, we have to bench and replace the American guy because he's Canadian and they have a bias, obviously. But the American guys, they have longer windows. That's just how it works in the CFL. I don't know why they do that. That's just how it works. I mean, that's cold. I know. It's funny. It's funny, I'm saying. It's funny. Yeah. Yeah, but I know the CFL will never make this dream. This is my dream. It'd be nice to see my ultimate dream of the CFL. I want to see the best players in Canada compete. I want to see the best franchise quarterbacks and quarterbacks compete for the Grey Cup. Never going to happen. That's my CFL dream. But I know the CFL is going to, because we're blind by American talent. I'm talking to you, CFL. You're going to have to find a way to really get the fans interested in your American players because obviously, for decades, you've been seeing minimal growth. So hopefully your league grows pretty well in 10 years, which I think it will. CFL should grow in 10 years, but we'll see what happens, obviously, right? That's my ultimate dream for the CFL. Anyways, guys, here's my CFL video. Peace out, guys. Hope you guys enjoy this show from Iron Mary, the CFL show from Iron Mary. Peace out. Don't hate him, son.